Yep. It's live now.
Oh, yeah.
Wrestling in the Basement. Thor and Brian back for another installment. Still catching our breath after that amazing Royal Rumble. And trust me, we have lots to discuss from the Royal Rumble. Mm-hmm. We're actually going to start with just kind of talking about the whole weekend of WWE.
Oh, yeah.
We got to talk some NXT, man.
I almost forgot.
We got to talk some NXT. And I'm be honest, what I was most surprised about is this was for the first time in a while I can remember where the main pay-per-view was better than the NXT pay-per-view. Yeah. Now the NXT pay-per-view is bad. It might have been Mauro Ronaldo's constant talking of the Philadelphia Eagles that might have irritated and brought my joy of that pay-per-view down slightly. Great matches. The main event between Johnny Gargano and Andrade Cien Almas was phenomenal. Seeing Tommaso Ciampa come out at the end was phenomenal. I mean, I thought he was going to cost him the match, but I'm glad they made him come back and didn't. Because it was such a great match. Having him cost him the match would have been a little, cheap. It would have cheapened the match slightly. Right. So I'm glad they did the way they did it. And we're kind of going backwards in that pay-per-view now. So I'll start with that one. But honestly.
Well, and he smoked his back.
He did. We'll get back into that later, too. Oh, you mean with the crutch? Yeah, he had some welts coming. Like, you could see it when he was laying on the thing. Olivia was almost crying. That was a good crutch shot.
Yeah.
Almost said crotch shot.
Oh.
One of those two. So that was the last match of. So NXT Takeover Philadelphia was last night. Mm-hmm. We watched that. We were gonna do a video last night, but that didn't happen. So we just kind of wrap them all into one video here for you this evening. What was before that? We're gonna go Back to the Future. So we're gonna start at the finale. Then it was Aleister Black. So the match prior to that was Aleister Black versus Adam Cole, baby, and that was an Extreme Rules match. Which they've really, the one thing I do like when they're in Philadelphia, they have like Extreme Rules spots or the table spots from tonight, stuff like that. That really calls back to the ECW days, and the crowd was chanting ECW at both pay-per-views. Right. The Philly crowd was hot. I mean, honestly, they were hot. I'm not gonna be mean to Philly fans. I can't say anything. We got beat 38-7. It's embarrassing. But Aleister Black versus Adam Cole, baby. Honestly, probably one of my favorite spots of the weekend is when Aleister Black went to do that moonsault off the rope and got the kendo stick to the like the midsection. That was amazing. Honestly, to be honest, we didn't watch a ton of NXT Takeover. We watched the majority of it. Right. We watched the final match. I watched the Aleister Black Adam Cole match twice.
What was the women's match?
Ember Moon versus Shayna Baszler. That was the super brutal one where she got choked out afterwards. Shayna was just kind of running through her, even in the match and after the match, but Ember Moon retains by kind of just rolling her up. She got a pin somehow, like a quick pinfall.
Right. It wasn't.
I can't remember exactly how.
It wasn't super clean. That's all I remember.
No, and then before that was the Velveteen Dream versus Cassius Ohno. That was a great match too. Velveteen Dream is becoming one of my favorite wrestlers in WWE.
He's kind of a weirdo.
He's a weirdo, but man, he's my athletic. Favorite part, his character is awesome. Like, he's got his character down.
Right. He did the boxing thing.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna knock him out in 30 seconds or something, and he punches him, knocks him out, and then he starts doing like a boxing count. And he came out
the
in
10
like
count.
The
he started doing the 10 count stuff. Yeah, and he had the boxing shorts on. And then the first match of the night was the Undisputed Era versus Authors of Pain for the tag team titles. And that was a solid match. I did see a little bit of that match, like probably say about half of it. Undisputed Era retains, which I'm totally cool with. They came back into it during that final match too, or not the final match, but the match before that, because they came out to help Adam Cole in the Extreme Rules. But then Sanity showed up and like ran them off. Right. So I really like what they do in NXT. They really, if you've been watching NXT leading up to Takeover, a lot of the storylines are going to continue, and a lot of the ones that they wanted to wrap up, they wrapped up very nicely. Right. I mean, I'll give that one a solid A-. There really wasn't a down match.
Right.
But you only have 5 matches, and it's a quick show. It's not like the 6-hour behemoth that is Royal Rumble.
Right.
And honestly, going into that, the pre-show is disappointing. Extremely. But the main show by far made up for it.
You could have skipped the whole pre-show.
You could have skipped that 2-hour pre-show. Half of it was a Royal Rumble countdown.
Mm-hmm.
Like half of the first hour of the pre-show was just a countdown.
Right.
They had a 6-man cruiserweight tag, which we're not even going to talk about, and who won because WWE doesn't care about the cruiserweight division. I'm not going to either.
I thought it was an okay match.
Whatever. I'm not.
It was the best of the 3.
We're skipping it. Then they had on the pre-show Revival versus the Club, which I liked because the Revival won, which they needed that redemption win from what happened to them on Raw 25. That it came on the pre-show cheapens it slightly, but with how stacked the main card was, you no way you're getting that match into there.
No.
And I'm glad they at least had the match and redeemed the Revival slightly.
Right.
And then the final match of the pre-show, the United States Open Challenge with Bobby Roode, and who answered it? Mojo Rawley. That was by far the biggest disappointment of the night for me. It was boring. Bobby Roode won, of course, but it was just a bad match.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I'm glad he at least got to wrestle on the show.
It was sloppy.
But it was. But he didn't even show up in the Rumble later.
No.
That's trash. Now the Rumble is amazing, and I'll forgive it because I just now realized it. But yeah, they fucked Bobby Roode this Royal Rumble.
Right.
Solid. Like, he got screwed hard. And then the main show started. So the main show started, and what did we get right off the bat? We got AJ Styles versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I had a feeling they were going to start with a big match. I kind of almost thought they were going to start with a Royal Rumble, but I can see now why they didn't. Because they literally, I will say the booking tonight was next to perfect.
Oh, yeah.
The way they ran through the matches was next to perfect. Because you had the gradual build to a crescendo, slow dip, and then another gradual build to an even greater crescendo, I feel. So Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn versus AJ Styles. This was a good match. AJ Styles ends up retaining in like a roll-up. Was it a roll-up pin? Yeah, because he had his leg.
Yeah,
it was just like a roll-up pin. I don't know. I'm not going to say like it definitely was my favorite match of the night, but it wasn't the weakest match of the.
No, it was. I mean,
it was a great opening salvo. It really got the crowd going. It was long. Like, it was a good match. It was a good match. It was just nothing super descript about it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's just, AJ Styles always does solid wrestling. So even when he's, just whatever match, he does a good enough job that you're like.
Oh, except for, so AJ pinned Kevin, but technically Sammy was legal because it was a handicap match.
Yep.
So they had tags. So there's a little cheatsy doodleness in it, so they can keep it going until his WrestleMania opponent, who we'll get to later. And then we had the Usos versus American Alpha 2.0.
Yeah.
Or Shelton Benjamin and Chad Gable, whatever they're calling themselves these days. That was a good match. I really enjoyed that match. The moonsault from Gable to the Usos on the outside was a great spot. I don't exactly love that the Usos won. It was a 2 out of 3 pinfall.
Right.
And the no pinfall forever. And then the Usos got like back-to-back pinfalls within, I'd say, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then rolled out of there and dipped. Honestly, it was a good match. As I'm going through this in my head as we're talking about it, I honestly think the WWE Championship match might be my least favorite match of the night.
Really?
Maybe. Because then you get the Men's Royal Rumble comes next. And that was just, we can't go through who came in where. It was amazing. What they did with Heath Slater and having him get beat up by every entrance coming out till Sheamus shows up, throws him in the ring, and then he throws Sheamus directly outside of the ring. Rusev and Finn starting it were amazing. That Finn lasted until the final four was awesome. Rusev got thrown out a little early, but the crowd and Rusev Day, strongest chant of the night. By far the strongest chant of the night.
They were still chanting it when...
They were chanting when Lana showed up for the Women's Royal Rumble, and that was at the end of the night, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
What are some spots from the Royal Rumble that really stood out to you?
Well, you were saying the 3 on, what was it, the 6 guys?
Oh, when we got down to 6, we had Orton, Rey Mysterio showing back up was a really nice touch. Huge pop there. That was the biggest return surprise, I'd say, of the night.
Well, and you're thinking and then, he's going to be...
Andrade Cien Almas and Adam Cole from NXT show up in the Rumble, and both, I say, have a good showing.
Yes.
Dolph Ziggler shows back up, gets eliminated really quickly, and makes it feel really weird. He came in at 30, right?
Yeah.
And then he got screwed. But so we get down to the final 6, and it's Finn, Shinsuke, and
Cena,
and Roman Reigns,
and Cena
versus Cena, Orton, and Rey Mysterio.
Oh, you're talking
the final 6 when we got down to
Yeah.
they had
I
like
thought
the
you were
new
talking
school
Final
versus
Four.
the old school.
Spoilers.
And then we'll get there. So then that was a great spot where we had kind of the new school versus the old school. And then we get down to our final 4. It's Cena, it's Reigns, it's Nakamura, and it's Finn Balor. So at this point, you're like, yeah, Roman Reigns or Cena's going to win this. We're about to just riot.
You're
hoping against, but WWE. So you're like, yeah, there's no way Finn or Shinsuke are winning this. And then Finn goes out. And you're like, well, dude, we're screwed. It's Roman or Cena for sure at that point. Then Cena goes out.
Oh, yeah.
So now you're down to Nakamura and Roman Reigns. And who wins the MFing Royal Rumble of 2018?
Oh, yeah, baby.
Shinsuke MFing Nakamura. It was amazing that they had Shinsuke actually win it, who needed it more than anybody on the roster. He needed this. He has been floundering in SmackDown ever since he came up. He's had decent matches, but has never really shown what he's capable of doing or what he did in NXT. This win solidifies him as the #1 contender for AJ Styles WWE Championship at WrestleMania. Yeah, yes. The way that they did that, and they made the crowd think Roman was going to win, and then to have Shinsuke win, dude, everyone was so happy. It was such a great moment. And then they had a nice lengthy break kind of in between that and the next match, what happened to be the Bar versus Rollins was in the Rumble, and he was in the Rumble for a long period of time. So we said Sheamus got eliminated instantly. Cesaro came out too in the Rumble, and he was in there for a decent period of time, but not an extended period of time.
Right.
Rollins came out like halfway through, and he was down to like
we
the
didn't even
last
talk about our Kofi Kingston moment.
The Kofi Kingston moment with the pancakes and landing on one foot on Xavier Rhodes. It was, as the Kofi Kingston moment goes, it was meh.
Yeah.
It was super meh. But the Bar versus Jason Jordan and Rollins that came on after the Royal Rumble, you're thinking, well, this is, it's probably going to be a kind of a crapper. Rollins is going to do much because he's super tired. They're going to lean on Jordan too much. This is going to be bad. And it turned out like Jordan was like non-existent in the match. He hit his head on a pole, and they had doctors coming out, and he was concussed, or he wasn't. And then the doctors left. It was pure madness. But Rollins was killing it in the ring with the Bar the whole match pretty much. And then Jordan stumbles back into the ring, tags himself in, gets in, and he's all wobbly, tags himself out and goes sits on the stupid stairs, and he's like, holding his head. And then Sheamus and Cesaro pin Rollins, and they regain.
I mean, Rollins was in there
considering
how tired he should have been after the freaking Rumble.
Yeah.
Plus, he was in there by himself the whole freaking tag team match.
MVP of the night right there.
He did. He had an amazing showing, but that didn't make that match.
He killed it.
That match itself suffered because.
But I think it was better that Jordan wasn't in it. It was a good match that kept my. It didn't kill the vibe,
right?
You know what I mean? And
but
it kept it going.
No freaking. None of him. If Ambrose was in that spot,
if it was Ambrose and him versus the Bar,
the match would have been better because there was 2 people.
Yeah, it would have been a better match.
Just because you don't like the wrestler doesn't mean that the match is better because he wasn't involved. It means someone else should have been involved.
Well, yeah, but Ambrose is hurt. He has the torn tricep. Like they did. I think for the spot they were put in, they handled it the best way they could.
It's pretty bad when you have to make a match better. You have to not utilize someone. That guy shouldn't be in that match then.
Jason Jordan's a good wrestler. He's just in a bad spot on the card and in a bad storyline. If he was still with American Alpha or doing something different, I would have much less problem with him.
Right.
Because he is a good wrestler. It's just everybody hates him right now. So Elias's part during the Royal Rumble was pretty good too, because he came out and sang a song, and that was after who like kind of demolished everybody. Corbin, after he got thrown out, like took out everybody, and then Elias came out and like sang a whole song until he got interrupted.
Right.
That was actually a good spot too, kind of regressing for a second. But then we got the Universal title match, Braun versus Brock versus Kane. I'm not even using second names because none of those men need them. But that match was it was a train wreck. It was a great train wreck. Was it a technical masterpiece? By no stretch of the imagination.
This was like your obligatory ECW-esque match.
It was. They pulled out tables like right away. It was. They must have smashed 6 tables overall.
Easily.
5 for sure, because he tipped the one over. He slammed
the 2 tables he pulled
2
out.
tables in the ring.
Plus the 3 announce
Plus
tables.
the 3 announce tables. 5 tables total got destroyed. Brock ends up retaining, obviously, but everybody looks strong. Kane took the pinfall, which saves Braun.
And sets it up for him to be like, well, I didn't get pinfalled, so I should get another chance.
Which is fine because you need somebody for Lesnar.
That's bad. Well,
we'll see what happens on Raw, but it's probably going to be Reigns at Mania versus Lesnar.
You think so?
I really do, especially since he didn't win the Rumble. Because now they can build it like Roman can be like, well, it's my yard. I get it. They could do a tournament, or they could do like a fatal 4-way for a #1 contendership. It lets them do whatever they want to do. Let's say they want to use a few weeks, because I don't think they have a pay-per-view for a while. Let's say they want to use a few weeks to draw excitement, so they just have literally like a 8-man tournament for the #1 contendership, and then you have Reigns win that. Like
do another Royal Rumble.
Or if Elimination Chamber is I don't know if Elimination Chamber is SmackDown or Raw, but if it's Raw, whoever wins the Elimination Chamber is the #1 contender for WrestleMania. Yeah. That's an easy one.
So maybe they're doing see who gets
to
be in.
Brock won. It was a good match. It was probably a better match than anybody expected. And the momentum's still climbing now after that slight dip from the Royal Rumble. Because you had to come down a little bit, which that tag team match did, but it didn't bring you like all the way down.
Right.
Like they used to do with like a women's match back in the day. Like just kill everything.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe like 2 years ago. Remember that?
Yeah.
So then women's Royal Rumble.
Oh, and,
man, the old school girls that they had come back, Kelly, Michelle McCool, Lita, Trish, the Bella Twins, which really aren't that old, but they were like a return.
Right.
Beth Phoenix. That's it. And then they had Kairi Sane and Ember Moon from NXT. So they had 2 NXT people just
Kairi Sane, I know you were saying
Kairi Sane killed it.
You were saying she got eliminated too quick, but she was like a frickin' force of fury.
She got to drop two pretty good elbow drops. One on Sasha was decent, and then the one on Becky when Tamina was coming out was even better.
Basically stole Tamina's thunder. She might as well have not come out.
Well, it was nice how they used the returning people and the legends very effectively.
Yeah.
To like they'd have a bunch of legends kind of come out in a row, and then Molly Holly came out too. Yep, she was another legend that came out. So they used a lot. And then Sasha, Vicky Guerrero. Yeah. Vicky Guerrero comes out. Sasha and Becky Lynch started it, and Sasha was in the final 4.
Yeah.
So we had 2 in both Rumbles. One of the first 2 participants be in the final 4. One was #1 and one was #2.
You know what's kind of crazy?
What?
Not to go back to the men's here, but it was funny because you said when freaking Shinsuke came out, like, he's in the teens. That doesn't make me super happy. And they said more than once, like, the teens has the lowest win % chance. And I
want
to
say he came out at 14.
I thought it was 13, but
no, because they said somebody else was at 13. It was unlucky 13.
Yeah.
Then Shinsuke came out next, and I'm pretty sure he was 14.
But I just remember them saying that, and I was like, God, I bet Shinsuke's going to win. That's probably – they need to bulk up the 13 number.
I put this shirt on this morning because I was hoping Shinsuke Nakamura was going to win. I was like, I really don't think it's going to happen. I don't see it. Yeah. It's not WWE style.
No.
And then – so we're still in the women's one, right?
Yeah.
So the final 4 is the Bella Twins. We'll just go right to the final 4. The final 4 is the Bella Twins, Sasha, and Asuka. And
we're going to skip over like 30 people knocking out Nia Jax.
Oh, yeah. Like the whole crew. Yeah. Everybody was like 10 girls threw out Nia Jax. But she looked really good in that match.
She always
her
looks
versus Beth
ridiculous.
Her versus Beth Phoenix was a great moment. That was a great Royal Rumble moment. This was literally one of the best Royal Rumbles I'd say in the past 10 years. Easy in the past 10 years. Maybe the past 15.
Well, it makes it easier when there's two.
And the first women's, I mean, this was going to be special.
Right.
And they literally had you set up thinking Ronda Rousey was going to show up at the end of the Rumble. Because they had Bayley come out at 29. Yeah. They had all the, most of the big main people come out. And 30 was just sitting there. And everyone was like waiting. And they just counting down. And everyone was there. And that was Trish at number 30, which was fine.
Right.
Because Trish was in the final 6.
Right.
Which was nice. But yeah, the final 4, Sasha, Asuka, and the Bella Twins. The Bella Twins knock out Sasha after Sasha and the Bella Twins attack Asuka. Then Nikki knocks out Brie. So you got Nikki versus Asuka, and thank God they did the right thing again. And Asuka wins the Women's Royal Rumble.
The minute Asuka came out, I was nervous. I was like, oh, God, don't don't waste Asuka.
Well, once there was no Ronda Rousey, I knew Asuka was gonna win it. I was like, you have to. If you're gonna do so, we have an all Japanese Royal Rumble winners, and it's amazing.
Yeah,
the Japanese takeover in WWE, I love it.
Well, I love it. Japan's got such a crazy wrestling scene now. They do. Hard not for that to happen. You know what I mean?
Yep. And if you want to siphon some of that off a little bit,
right?
And put two of the people who are positioned really, Asuka's been built good. Nakamura less so, but
but they're also awesome
give
wrestlers.
Them both these great pushes at your biggest show coming up in the next couple months. That's big. That's big time. I couldn't be more happy with the outcome of pretty much all the matches. Match of the night, that men's Royal Rumble was a peach. That was a peach.
Yeah,
that was a peach of a Royal Rumble. Realistically, the women's one was great, being the inaugural, but there were some really sloppy starts. A lot of the women that returned didn't look wonderful, but I'm not gonna knock it at all. It was super fun.
There was a handful of them that looked rough, but I think there was more that looked pretty solid.
It was decent. I'm just saying the men's one was a little bit better for me. You know what I mean? Just the way that they did it.
The only old person they had come back was freaking Hurricane, who was out.
Oh
in
yeah,
5 minutes.
Hurricane coming back in the men's Rumble was awful. I didn't like that at all. I did not like that. That was
that's part of the problem with the women's. But the roster's so small.
Rey Mysterio returned. That was a big one.
That's true.
Returning legend, But
he's still wrestling.
Yeah, he looked good. He looked really good.
Right.
He looked really, really good. Oh, and then let's talk about the end of the show. So after Asuka wins and she's pointing at the WrestleMania sign, both Alexa Bliss and Charlotte, who sat ringside for the Women's Royal Rumble but didn't do or say anything. They just sat there watching it.
They got in the ring. Commentary from someone else.
Stephanie McMahon's commentary on the Women's Royal Rumble,
top tier,
was the most useless pile of trash
it was good
I have ever heard in my life. I'm sorry.
It was. That's a good one.
How many times she was like, oofta. Oh, jeez. Christ almighty, it was bad. It served no purpose to the whole
She's
to the
never
whole thing.
once listened to her dad commentate.
For someone who grew up in the business, should not be that bad
and
on a commentary microphone.
Was, commentary forever.
Well, she's been in the room in the back, where they produce the whole. It's whatever. We're not gonna talk about Stephanie McMahon sucking. But so Asuka's standing in the ring with the two women's champions on either side of her, pointing at the WrestleMania sign. Then all of a sudden, some music hits. And it's unfamiliar music to most people unless you watch UFC. And then you realize it's Ronda Rousey's entrance music from her UFC. They actually got the rights. I don't remember the name of the song. But then
it says that one. God.
Sing it. Please sing it.
It's in... and this is going to sound horrendous.
Sing it,
I remember it from Shrek when they're doing the wrestling scene.
All right.
I'm not going to sing it.
Damn it, man. All right, so that song comes on, if you remember that song. And then Ronda's, it says Rousey, but it looks like Rowdy Piper's. It's the white background with the exact same pattern, but it just says Rousey. And the crowd goes nuts. Everyone looks confused. Michael Cole's like, what do you know about this, Stephanie? Stephanie's like, I know nothing. I don't even work here. I just showed up for tonight.
Right.
It was so bad. So Ronda comes down. She stands in the ring. She goes to shake Asuka's hand, which I thought was odd. Asuka smacks it, kind of gives her a side five. And Ronda's like, oh, I see how it is. And then she points at the Royal Rumble sign.
The WrestleMania.
That's what I meant. The WrestleMania sign. And... nobody says anything.
Yep.
And then they kind of all look at each other, and then she points at it again, and she's got the biggest, stupidest leather jacket I've ever seen in my life on.
He's so concerned about this leather jacket.
Why are you covering up the merch that you could be pumping with this oversized, god-awful leather jacket? Show the merch.
They even called her
what are guns looking like? I wanted to see, give us the shot. None of this stupid... But whatever. So Ronda Rousey and
Rowdy Ronda Rousey, as Michael Cole said.
Yeah, they did. They must have paid his family to use that. You know what I mean? We'll give you a couple mil. Let us use that for her.
What's wrong with
that?
I mean? Well, and they got the same design, so
same exact design. I think they own that design though. I think they can do whatever they want with it if they're WWE.
Well, if they
but
can
either
do
way,
that,
it came out after the fact that she is now a full-time participant of WWE. Full-time, not part-time. She's not a Brock. Full-time, baby. And I think that starts now. I'll be curious. You think Raw?
It depends. Who's Asuka facing?
We'll find out on Raw tomorrow.
Because
I hope we find out on Raw tomorrow.
Because if what you think is going to happen, it would be Asuka versus one champion, Ronda Rousey versus the other.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that would make sense. So she would have to be whatever brand Asuka
doesn't go with.
Right.
So if Asuka goes for Charlotte, does Asuka jump ship to SmackDown?
I would say so.
Man, so many unanswered questions. I cannot wait to watch SmackDown and Raw this upcoming week. That was a phenomenal Royal Rumble. Tell us what you thought of the Royal Rumble. Did you like the men's match or the women's match better? Did you like Takeover or the Rumble better? What was your favorite moment? Least favorite moment? Tell us everything that you think.
You don't need to leave least.
No, put least.
Obviously, Bobby Roode match.
Who knows? I want to know. Maybe their least is different than our least.
If someone didn't think that Bobby Roode match
maybe they
was the
didn't
worst,
watch the pre-show, so they only have NXT and Royal Rumble to go off of. But tell us your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm Thor. That's Brian. This is Wrestling in the Basement. Check out the Basement Banner YouTube channel. There's lots of good stuff on there. I would list it all, but we don't have that much time, and I don't care that much. Until the next video, like, share, subscribe. Did I already say that?
I don't think so.
Can't say that enough. Till the next one.
Deuces.